Economic collapse news update. Today I have a very interesting ideas about what's going on into the market. But before I dive in, I want to talk about something that I hit on yesterday regarding the boogeymans that is presented to us in our U.S. media and by our big brother. For example, one of the biggest boogeymans they constantly portray to us is China. And I nailed something yesterday, and I want to nail it home today, is that China hasn't invaded any countries since I've been a refugee to America. Okay? China is producing goods for the world to use around the world. Okay? On the other hand, since I've been in America as a refugee, the amount of countries that America has invaded or overthrown, it's tremendous. I mean, we can count from Afghanistan, we can count from Iraq, we're to talk about Syria, Libya. I mean, the list just goes on and on. It's just hard to keep track, okay? And also, we have to think about that America is producing what weapons of destruction distributing around the world, where China is producing products of consumption to make our lives easier. So I know, it doesn't sound very patriotic, but I got to be with you 100%. I can't sugarcoat it for you. Who is being warlike? Who is being what is the word for it? An animal like versus the other one? Who is being more civilized? Who is being more producing stuff to help us with our medicine, with our cars, with our toys, with our bicycles? It doesn't matter. So that's something to think about, guys, because on the news, on the TV, they always have a boogeyman. And the truth is, I think the person pointing the finger needs to point the finger back to themselves and say, look, I'm actually the boogeyman. I am actually the one causing injustices around the world, okay? And that's something that we don't see in our TV, and at the same time, our brainwashed citizens around, neighbors around us, because they think that we're the golden good guys and everyone else is the bad guy, not realizing that we're the ones that have caused massive amount of wars in the Middle East in 20 years of being in America. We're the ones that are producing weapons of mass destruction and exporting around the world and wanting and interfering in these countries to have civil unrest in their countries, to overthrow and put puppets in there, or even cause fighting with each other so we can sell them weapons. Not China, okay, or Iran, or Russia, and people say, Russia caused the war, and I totally disagree, because it was NATO-led America that put the troops right to next door over Russia. Just like if Russia would want to do that to Mexico, we wouldn't like it. Why would they like it? And so the war in Russia, in my opinion, my belief is America-led NATO that caused it. They pushed the Russians so much that they had no other choice. And if you were in your shoes, you probably do the same thing. Okay, so now let's go into the economy, because the economic collapse news is so delusional. Okay, so delusional. If you look at the stock market, it's just going up and up and up and up. Okay, and yes, there's a little pain, right, because of inflation, because of the cost of goods, but no one is everyone's like just buying the dip, and assuming that it's going to always go up, assuming that the Fed can print money continuously, assuming that the Fed can manipulate the stock market continuously or manipulate the interest rates continuously. Okay, and as I said many moons ago, that there's two layers to our society. You got the layer number one, which is the commodities, the rice, the gold, the things that make actual things in our lives, right? That makes the actual stuff. And then you have the layer two, which is the digital, the paper, okay, the Visa, the MasterCard, the clearinghouses, etc. And in America, we control the level two, okay, the layer two of the world economy, because we can manipulate the interest rate, we can manipulate the money printing, we control the pipe, the clearinghouses, etc., the banking system, etc. But that layer two does not produce you rice. You can increase the interest rates, you can decrease the interest rates, you can print as much as money you want, but you're not going to get any rice growing out of the ground, right? That is layer one. That's called the commodities. So for a while, just like a domain name bended on an IP address, they were aligned, right? So when you went to someone's domain name, you didn't have to remember their IP address. But the things are changing where that DNS is not going to prognate correctly, which basically translates into the money printing is not going to have any relevance with layer one, commodities, because what's going to get cut off is the commodities, and we're seeing that, okay? We're seeing that after all these sanctions, for example, Russia is becoming more, their economy is actually, according to the IMF, is more advanced than anyone else in the country. And the countries that were doing the sanctions, like Germany, like Great Britain, are going into a depression, including us, right? And now, since we are the master printers of the money, the world reserve currency, the federal, crap paper, we're the ones that can export inflation out and be the last ones to affect it. So if we have, let's say, 10% inflation, which that's what the government says, not me, right? I believe it's a lot more, but let's just say if we have 10% inflation, the other countries in the third world country, they're going to have 300% inflation. So we're able to export our inflation out, simply put, okay, guys? All right. And so we can become the master printer of money. We can be the least feeling of the pain, because we can control the layer two. But now there is a separation from the layer one and layer two, and we're not going to be able to manipulate the layer one no matter what we do, unless we become the world's producers. But we don't have factories to produce here. Sure, we have resources, but we don't have factories. China is our factory. As I said earlier in the first argument that I was making, is China is making stuff for the world to use, while the only factories we have here is bullets, guns, etc. Okay, and that is something that we can't eat, right? And this is where the real trouble is going to come into, with massive inflation, massive hunger, and the class of our society, in my opinion, coming up and down the line. We're already in the process of it. Okay, now how does that translate to the actual stock market? Well, it's delusional. Instead of the stock market crashing, we're having it pump. Instead of gas prices skyrocketed, we're having low, okay? Which is crazy. It doesn't make sense, right? It really doesn't make sense. Like, the only thing that's making a little sense in this thing is gold, not even silver, okay? And I believe that even gold has been manipulated. Gold should be a lot higher than what it is today, easily 5,000, 4,000, if not more. Because, like I told you guys, just the other video I did for you yesterday, that these folding tables that I used to buy from Costco or from Walmart, they were like $25, and today they're selling it for $125, $150 plus. And so that's, a lot more than 100% inflation. That's a lot more than 200% inflation, okay? So gold should represent that, okay? But most of these things are, I believe, being manipulated, and that's why you see gas prices what they are. That's why you see the stock market is doing what it's doing. And because of our media is being, in one way or another in bed with Big Brother, they're really not reporting it correctly. And, with all the misinformation, with all the stuff you can keep yourself busy with, from the Kardashians to the football games to the soccer balls to anything you can imagine through consumption, most people are not even realizing it. Only when they go to the grocery store what's really happening, okay? And maybe their rent, or they see that they can't qualify to borrow a car anymore, etc. However, but life is still good compared to all the other countries, okay? And that's why I think this delusion is happening, because if people really realize what is going on, that we're in World War III, that we are dead broke as a country, that as the citizens, half of us are obese, the other half of us have major diseases, the other half of us, 33% of us have chronic addictions. And some people say, Mike, I don't have any addiction, Mike. And I like to just give you one idea that I learned in my college class about substance abuse, that we had a whole semester about it, was that at most everyone in America is addicted to something or another. For example, the definition of a drug is a foreign substance that alters your mood, okay? One way or another, your body, your emotionally. Well, imagine the time that you're just driving and you're really, really, really hungry and you have became moody, right? You were kind of like moody and upset and very agitated, but could have easily just lashed out. And then you pulled over to your favorite fattening food place like McDonald's and you ate some food and instantly you felt better. Well, can someone argue that that food is a drug? Because it was a foreign option. You took it in, it did alter your mood. So just like a drug. Same thing with sugar. Most people are addicted to the sugar. If they didn't have sugar, they would go mad, or they're addicted to their coffee, or they're addicted to that fatty fake substance that they produce in the test tube lab, or to that test tube sugar that they produce in the test tube lab. And there's so many people are addicted to their cell phone. If they didn't have their cell phone, they would be going into withdrawal. They would have fear of their lives. They wouldn't know what to do. How would they get around? What if someone tried to hurt them? Oh my gosh, they don't have their cell phone. What if someone tried to hurt them? What if they got in a car wreck and, they forget that, many, many moons ago, they didn't even have cell phones and yonder, right? I mean, this is just a new device that just came up. But look at the level of addiction that we have if we're not connected, if we're not this, if we're not that, right? So we all have addiction. And when the bubble bursts, all those things are going to be taken away from us. If your addiction is playing video games, if your addiction is to porn, if your addiction is to substance, if it's sugar, it's donuts, it's fatty food, if it's to the gym, if it's to your narcissist ways, or whatever the story is, when those things starts collapsing on you, right? Well, it's going to affect you. And where I'm going with this is that most of us are so weak in America is because we've been pampered, we've been given the good life. No one even knows what a day's labor is. We think that a day's labor is sitting in front of a computer and typing something in there, right? Very few of us have construction work. Very few of us are farmers. We're working with our hands and arms. And most of us is just fat and obese, ladies and gentlemen. And so what's coming down the pipeline is going to be crazy shock for us because we don't know how to sacrifice. We don't know what discipline is. We think that discipline is working on our FICO score to have a certain amount so you can borrow money for something you haven't even worked hard for, right? And pay it later. Well, that's not how the world works. That's not how the universe works. If that's the case, then your rice would come out of the ground without you plowing it, right? Without you nurturing, giving something to get something. So our whole society is all screwed up and upside down. We think that, debt is money, and that people think they're millionaires because they're totally in debt. And this is the society that we live in. And when it collapses, because it's not the real life. In other parts of the world, you have to save up money, you have to work to go buy a car. Here in America, they'll just give you the car because the factory wants to sell more, because it's all based on a fake economy, debt, to get more people in debt. And people are like, everything's okay, everything moves forward because we control layer 2. But the layer 2 does not matter because of what's going on in the world with Russia, with Iran, with China, that they control the commodities. And that's something we haven't thought about, is that we may have commodities, but we don't have the factories, we don't have the labor mentality, the labor force, the skills, and so on. Can we get them? Yes. But is it going to take tomorrow? No, it sure will not. And it's going to take many moons of hardships for us to become real men again, because in today's society, we don't even appreciate real men. We think a real man is a guy with a gun, right? We don't even look at, hey, how fat is this guy? How fast can he run? How many pull-ups can he do? How many push-ups can this guy do, right? So, our processing of what a man is has been dictated to us by the media and the people in charge that want us not to be men. Okay, wearing skinny pants. Not dissing that, but I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Right? Not having facial hair. You know, a man has facial hair, right? Only in America's media, men don't have facial hair, right? And when I'm telling you this propaganda, it's hard for you guys to believe what I'm saying is because we're all been brainwashed into, you know, what the new man should be versus what a man is. So all that brings into the class or economy. That's why I said, you know, today's a big, interesting idea because the economic collapse is not looking too good. The Titanic is sinking, everyone drinking wine and dancing. Just like the Titanic. And what that means is we're watching TV, we're consuming, we're doing this, we're focusing on our own personal goals when the whole thing's going up. The nukes may be coming today, tomorrow. We have no idea because our big brother is not honest with us. In other countries, they have bomb shelters. Not in America. I don't know a bomb shelter around here. In other countries, they're telling their citizens to be preparing, to be prepping. I don't hear any of that stuff in our TVs. I don't have a TV, but you know, when I didn't hear that. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make is that, you know, the Titanic is sinking, and most of us are drinking, most of us are dancing, most of us are having a good time. We're not realizing it's sinking. Okay, let that sink in. No pun intended. Anyways, guys, it sounds all doomy and gloomy. But hey, I warned you guys since 2016 what was going to be coming down the pipeline, okay? I saw all the massive printing. I saw, you know, prices of F-150s going from $15,000 when I was in high school, right? To that car being worth $40,000, $50,000 just a stock one, right? So this is what I mean, okay? It doesn't take a brain science to realize what's happening. It doesn't take a brain science to realize that the food that we're eating is making us obese, is making us sick, okay? It doesn't take a brain science, but most of us are not even observing to see what's going on. It doesn't take a scientist to sit in front of a Walmart and say, if you eat the food in there, you're going to have diabetes, you're going to get obese, and all the side effects that brings. But you know what? They don't care about that. Corporate America doesn't care about you, because if they did, they wouldn't put that kind of food into the product. We're one of the only countries in the world that puts crappy poison in our foods and packages up and lets your kids eat it. Only country. Like if you go to like other countries, like, you know, when I buy food from other countries, they use natural ingredients. We're just using artificial ingredients, fake sugars in the test tube, which all translates into more profits for big corporation versus your health, you know, and no one's talking about it. So don't worry about getting invaded by the immigrants. Your corporations is killing you like a treason horse, right? The corporations here are killing you like the treason horse by the food that they give you, from the vehicles they let you drive, because it's all about profit. They just want to get maximum profit, because if you look at like a car that was made recently versus one that was made 30 years ago, you can see the difference in the metal quality. Or if you buy a furniture today versus you bought a furniture just 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you can see the quality, even from the same manufacturer. It's all about profits. It's not about you. And that is the problem. And that's why I'm saying that the stock market is jacked up, because it's delusional. We're in the midst of multiple wars and multiple fronts, and everything's going up. Even though the people don't have any money, and don't worry, they'll give you some more money or maybe print out some more money. But like I said, layer 2 is not going to help you to get the commodities that you need to go into your stomach, the medicine that you need, okay? And that is something to think about, ladies and gentlemen, because the TV's not telling you. They're just telling you, these guys are bad, 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 bad. And we're the good guys. We are always the good guys, but everyone else is super bad, when we are the ones causing, or the corporations are causing death to Americans at home with their foods, with their cars, and so on. Okay? If you don't believe me, look at the number one death in America, right? What is number two death? What is number three death? Automotive kills a lot of people. And why is big government so pushing on roads and automotives versus cycling? I bet you if you cycle for just 2 years, you'll lose so much weight, you'll become so much more healthier, and it will cost the government and the cities and the locals so much less money to maintain the roads. You would need so, but it's not profitable, it's not taxable, it's blah 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 blah, right? And so this is why I say economic collapse news, because is this kind of thinking is leading us into a collapse. One of the greatest countries in the world, totally in debt, has to constantly rob other countries to steal their resources, to project power and etc. and export products of destruction, versus China that produces your bicycles, produces your medicine, produces your computers, produces your iPhones, etc. Guys, so think about that, okay? On TV, when they're telling you this company or that industry or this country or that country is bad, look who's pointing the fingers, all right? That's something to think about. And look what's going on at home. I mean, look at Detroit, right? Look at what corporate America does. They take a city, totally make it prosper, and then totally destroy it. That same corporate philosophy happens in the war policies in other countries, like Afghanistan. They go in there and then they leave. Same thing with Ukraine. Look, they went up there, they destroyed their whole country, right? Told the guy, we're going to give you money, we're going to give you this. And then they're going to do the same thing they did to Detroit to that dude. It's just the gameplay that they have here, right? And that happens with their cities, that happens with their foreign policies, and that happens with you, if that makes any sense. And that's what I've came to the conclusion of, is it's just a hoax to get the machine going, dude. I don't give a shit about anyone. All right? Let me know your thoughts below, though. Thanks for watching. Thanks for clicking the like button. If you're interested in real estate, go to myrealestatedojo.com. Don't take no for an answer. Peace.